Since Smash Ultimate released late last year, I've been very curious about the concept of Elite Smash. Watching YouTubers just face roll their way in with what looked like little effort, I decided that maybe I had a chance to join the fray. Now, I'd describe myself as quite the average smasher. By design, I have decent reflexes, awareness, and instinct, but I've never really been the type to take home first at the tournament. In fact, I only recently went to my very first tournament about a month ago, and it was because they had beer. And much like that first tournament, Elite Smash proved to be a bit of a struggle. Every game felt like a Herculean effort. Every win was by the skin of my teeth, and losses were... frustrating. So I decided to take some time, focus on improving my play, and come back when I felt ready. Fast forward 2 months later, and I have my main and my alt qualified, with a win rate of about 70%. So for those of you aspiring to raise yourself from the pits of items on, stage hazards, K-Rool only hell, I thought I could share my story of how I got up the hill. Anyway, after I made the commitment to the idea of improving, there were 3 areas that I realized I really had to focus on. Fundamentals, or general game knowledge, how to practice, and how to think. Starting with fundamentals, so a little research went a very long way to improving my game. I started by scouring YouTube, Discords, and forums for information. There was a lot to learn, but these made the most difference to me. I stopped trying to punish every whiff. I learned how to play out of shield. I focused on my spacing, and I learned my bread and butter combos. When you look at whiff punishes, I learned that across the board, cooldown frames for many attacks, especially landed aerials, had been reduced. This meant that in general, running in to punish a whiff is less safe than it's been in the past. This was a hard lesson for me to learn, but once I started thinking more critically about it, I started to realize what is and what isn't an opening, and my game improved immediately and noticeably. Now looking at playing out of shield, once again years of Smash left me with a bad habit. I'd been relying solely on grabbing out of shield. In Ultimate, this just stopped working for me as a Cloud and Wolf main. I realized that I had to consider all of my out of shield options at all times. My up B, up smash, and rising short hop aerials all turned out to be faster and safer punish options that could still set up good advantage states. So I practiced each option and learned which were the best in each situation. So looking at spacing. Spacing in any and every fighting game is key. We all know that, and Smash Ultimate is no exception. Learning to microspace my short hop falling aerials was extremely important, and was the biggest weapon missing from my personal arsenal. After working on that, in addition to having the control necessary to hit enemies who are trying to hit me, I realized that I could pretty consistently shield poke overly defensive opponents, but only if my aggression was very well spaced. Otherwise, I'm eating a big punish. On the ground, I needed to understand when and how to dash dance in and out of the range of my opponent. Dashing around all the time might make it look like I know what I'm doing, but it kept leaving me open and got me hit consistently. Now when I see an opponent dashing back and forth, I'm the one landing the free hit, and when I dash dance, it's for a purpose, and I find myself setting up a lot more safe whiff punishes. On to bread and butter combos. Learning these was huge. It turned out I really needed to spend a little more time understanding the most fundamental combos each of my characters had. It took a little research, but it didn't take long to find combos and tutorial videos for my mains. And I'm not talking about elaborate 0 to death Pichu combos here. I'm talking about getting at least 1 or 2 more hits off an opening, and knowing how percentages tend to affect these with the different weight classes of characters. Now, when I land a hit at low percentages, there's always a combo in mind. It may only be 1 or 2 more hits, but over time that adds up and leaves your opponent in a lot of bad disadvantaged states. So now let's talk about how I changed my practice habits. So the way I looked at it, I have my warm-ups, my friendlies, and my replays. So let's look at warm-ups. Every time I sit down, I've made it a habit to warm up for a few minutes in training mode. Before I jump into anything, I practice my least comfortable inputs, which for me are micro-spaced short hop falling aerials. After I get those looking clean and consistent, I practice any specific character tech that I think I might want to use, maybe things like my wolf forward B confirm, and then I move on to playing the game. I picked up these habits by watching Izoss Smash's wonderful How to Play training video, and I've put the link in the description in case you were wondering exactly what I mean by micro-spaced short hop falling aerials. So let's look at friendlies. So instead of just playing friendlies, I started thinking about the purpose of friendlies. The main thing that you can do differently in friendlies than you can do against the computer or in training is try to learn your opponent. So I started really focusing in on my opponent and trying to learn their habits. Obviously, this isn't something I could practice on my own, and I've taken to always focusing all of my attention on the opponent when I'm lucky enough to have a real-life person to play with. I'm now a little better at understanding the emotion of the player in the moment based on the way they're approaching me, and I've realized that recognizing a moment of anger, frustration, confidence, or maybe even deviousness can be the difference between winning and losing. I've also started actively asking for tips and advice from friends and learned of some idiosyncrasies and weaknesses in my play that I was able to then work on. So looking over at replays, the game has a wonderful replay feature, so I started making it a habit to watch all of my replays, whether stylish victory or crushing defeat. I found that while watching my replays, I could see the dumb thing I was about to do from the perspective of an observer and found myself yelling at the screen before it happened. I was shocked to realize that in many cases, I actually knew better than what I was trying to do, but I did it anyway in the heat of the moment. It's been eye-opening to see just how lazy I'm capable of playing. But with that knowledge, I've been able to make small adjustments to how I act in certain situations and be more present in a given match, and that has made all the difference. Finally, let's talk about playing to grow. At the end of the day, the one thing that's made the most significant difference to me, both in my growth as a player and in renewing my passion for Smash, has been to stop playing for this win and start playing for long-term personal growth. Once I really accepted that adjustment in my mindset, two things happened. One, I stopped playing lazy. What good would it do me to win on autopilot? At a certain point, getting better becomes more about understanding your opponent, and you can't just zone out for that. And two, I was much less afraid of failure. I realized I'd only get better by learning from as many people as I could, be it online or at my local tournaments. It wouldn't do me any good to skip that tournament or fight a CPU for fear of a bruised ego. And so it followed that I quickly learned, got better, and became more confident. Now when I'm down a stock and 150 damage, I don't let myself believe that the fight is over, because winning isn't the goal. Getting better is the goal. In those moments, I'll reassess my approach, slow down my gameplay, and try something different. I don't worry as much about losing because I can't fail so long as I've learned something, win or lose. And as you can see in the footage in the background, calm nerves can fray the nerves of your opponent. And this is not the only match that I won like this on my way into Elite. In the end, I'm happy to have made it into Elite. With that success, I've set my sights on a new goal, winning my first local tournament. But the key for me is that each goal is not an end, but only a stepping stone. I believe that self-improvement, no matter what form it takes, is a skill, and it's a skill that can and should be sharpened in any walk of life, be it education, career, relationships, Smash, or even making YouTube videos. So some might say that this is a silly video game about furries getting slapped around by anime-haired edgelords, but to me it's just another playground for growth and passion, something worth building a community around, and something to be celebrated. It's the apex for the real legends of gaming, from Cloud and Link to Zero and Hungrybox. No matter where my journey ends with Smash, it will always be something I'm proud to have been a part of. And with that, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you're working towards getting into Elite, we'd love to hear about your journey so far. And if you've already made it, we'd love to hear your advice and strategies. What got you over the hump? Was it even a hump for you at all? As always, your likes, subs, and comments are hugely appreciated. And until next time, stay classy, Internet.
ついてないな。